Hello, students. How are you? This is economics lesson video for grade 11, presented by me, Mr. Fitumir Mias. It is for term 1, week 4 in lesson 2. In today's lesson, we are going to deal with the concept of law of supply. Theory of supply were the main topic that we discussed in the previous session. We have dealt with the definition of supply and other related concepts. Supply of a commodity refers to the various quantities of which producers are willing and able to offer for sale at a particular time with various corresponding prices. Supply can also be represented in different ways. There is a supply schedule, supply curve, and supply function. Supply schedule is a tabular statement that states the different quantities of a commodity offered for sale at different price. There is individual supply schedule and market supply schedule. Individual supply schedule represents an individual firm's supply of a commodity with corresponding different prices. Market supply schedule represents the sum of the quantities supplied by all the sellers or all individual firms in the market. By adding horizontally or summing horizontally all the individual quantities supplied by individual firms, we'll get the market supply of a commodity. This is what we have seen in relation to supply schedule, individual supply schedule, and market supply schedule. Then we have also dealt with the supply curve. Supply curve also represents the same information as supply schedule, but it shows information graphically. And there is individual supply curve and market supply curves. The other part with the supply function. Supply function shows the functional relationship between the supply of a commodity and factors affecting the supply. Here, there are a number of factors that affect the amount of commodity which is supplied by the firm. Factors the like of price of the commodity, price of related goods, price of factors of production, objective of the firm, and other relevant factors. This is what we have tried to see in the previous session. Law of supply. The law of supply expresses the functional relationship between the price of a commodity and its quantity supplied. Price and supply are observed to be directly related. In other words, more of a commodity is supplied when the price rises and less of it supplied when the price falls, provided that other factors remain the same or constant. There are a number of factors that affect the amount of commodity which is supplied by the firm, but all those factors will remain constant and there will be a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. The higher the price, the higher will be the amount of commodity which is supplied, and the lower the price, the lower will be the amount of commodity which is supplied. This is a direct relationship in case of law of supply. Assumptions of the law of supply. Law of supply depends on the basic assumptions. Other things being equal or ceteris paribus, by other things we mean factors other than price, which affect the supply of a commodity. All these things will remain constant. Price of related goods, price of factors of production, on the objective or goal of the firm, state of technology, the techniques of production or the technologies that we use to produce the product, income of buyers and sellers should remain constant. When all these factors remain constant, the law becomes functional. There will be a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. The higher the price, the higher will be the quantity supplied. The lower the price, the lower will be the quantity supplied. This is what the assumptions tells us. Exceptions to the law of supply. There are some situations when the law of supply does not operate. This is the case with an increase in price, less of a commodity is supplied, and the vice versa is true. we may not have a positively sloped supply curve. The relation become inverse. The higher the price, the lesser commodity is going to be supplied, and the lower the price, the higher will be the amount of commodity which is supplied by the firm. This case is referred as exception to the law of supply. Cases or situations which does not govern by the law of supply. The main exceptions are as follows. In this situation, the law of supply does not operate. The first one, future expectation about change in price. Law of supply will not apply if there is an expectation about change in price of a commodity in the near future. Firms, for example, with an increase in price of a commodity, firms will not willing to supply larger quantities of a commodity with an increase in price of the commodity. Why? Because they expect that there will be much better price in the future, and they limit the amount of commodity which is available in the market. Even if there is an increase in the price of the commodity at the current time, they expect that there will be much higher price in the future. This is one thing that violates the law of supply. Again, when there is a decrease in the price of a commodity, firms will increase their product availability in the market by afraid that there will be much lower price in the future. In these two cases, with the future expectation about price change, will affect or will not abide by the law of supply. This is one case. The other one is agricultural product. The law of supply does not apply in the case of agricultural product because their supply is governed by the natural factors such as flood, drought, rainfall, and etc. There are factors which affect agricultural product. When there is a conducive environment or conducive climate, the production will become very high and there will be surplus production. With this surplus production, the supply also increases. This leads to a decrease in the price of the commodity. This is the case that violates the law of supply. The higher the productivity, the lesser will be the agricultural commodities price. Again, the reverse is true. When there is unfavorable climate or shortage of rainfall, production will become very low. But the price of this agricultural product now becomes very high. The third case is the perishable commodities. The supply of perishable commodities like milk, fruit, vegetables is not affected by their price. Producers try to sell more of perishable commodities even when there is a price decline. Even there is a fall in the price of such commodities, producers will be forced to sell these products before they incur a loss or uh, they face a bankruptcy. Goods of auction is the other case that we have exceptions to the law of supply. Since the supply of auction goods is limited, the law of supply does not operate in this case. Whatever the price varied by competitors, the auction goods are not varied. This is the other case. Artistic good is similar with that of auction goods. The supply does not apply. The law of supply does not apply in this case. Artistic goods, since their supply is limited or cannot be changed, when there is a price variation, the product availability is not varied. These are the cases that we have exceptions to the law of supply, or the law of supply does not operate in these different cases. Future expectation about change in price, agricultural product, perishable commodities, goods of auction, artistic goods are the cases that we have negatively sloped supply curve. Since it doesn't abide or governed by the law of supply, there will be a negatively sloped supply curve. But there should be a positively supply curve if it is governed by the law of supply. Basis of the law of supply, or why does the supply curve slope upwards? Student. give your own explanation. Pause the video for a while and try to answer why does the supply curve slope and upward. There are several reasons for the direct relationship between price and supply of a commodity, or the reason for the upward slope of the supply curve. The first one could be expectation of profit. If prices are high, profit expectation increases. As a result, producers increase their output or production. On the other hand, if prices are lower or there is a decrease in price, profit expectation also reduces. And this will make farmers to reduce their output or production. It is one thing. Expectation of profit is one of the reasons for the upward slope of the supply curve. Change in stock is the other case. An increase in the price of a commodity induces sellers to dispose at least a part of their stock. If there is a decline in price of the commodity, sellers will retain some of their stocks. They will not be willing to make available from their stock if there is a decline in price. Change in stock is the other factor. The higher the price, firms will induce to make available their stock products into the market, and when there is a decrease in price, they will retain their stock. Entry and exit of firms. Due to the rise in price of the commodity, the profit expectation will become very high. New firms enter into the market and add to the supply of the commodity. On the other hand, if there is a decline in price or when there is loss, insufficient firms withdrawn from the market and stop producing the commodity. This will create a direct relationship between the price and the supply of a commodity. So these are the main reasons that we have an upward slope supply curve or supply. Expectation of profit, change in stock, and entry and exit of firms. Okay, student, it's all about for today. To briefly highlight what we have discussed in today's session, we have dealt with the concept of law of supply, and we stated that the law of supply expresses the functional relationship between price of a commodity and its quantity supplied. And we observe that there is a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. The higher the price, the higher will be the quantity supplied, and the lower the price, the lower will be the quantity supplied. As an assumption, we have expressed that except price, all other factors should remain constant. All other factors mean factors like price of related good, price of factors of production, goal of a firm, state of technology, income of buyer and seller should remain constant. When all these factors remain constant, there will be a direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. This is the assumption that we have in relation to the law of supply. The other part, exceptions to the law of supply. There are some situations when the law of supply does not operate, which means the higher the price, the lesser will be the amount of commodity which is supplied. And the lower the price, the higher will be the amount of commodity supply. This will happen in the case of future expectation about the change in price. In the case of agricultural product, perishable commodities, goods of auction, and artistic goods. In this case, the law does not operate. We will have a negatively sloped supply curve. And then we have discussed why we have an upward slope supply curve. The reasons are expectation of profit by the firms. When there is high expectation of profit due to the higher the price of the commodity, firms will increase their production and their products. And the lower the price, the profit expectation also become very low, and firms will decrease or decline their production and their supply commodity to the market. The other one is change in stock. The higher the price, firms will induce or dispose their stock products to the market. When there is a decrease in price, they will retain their stock. Entry and exit of firm is the other reason. The higher the price, the higher the profit, firms will be encouraged to enter into the market. When there is lower the price, in low profit or loss, insufficient firms will withdrawn from the market, and this also reduces the amount of commodity which is available in the market. These cases result a direct relationship between price and the amount of commodity which is supplied. This is the reason that we have an upward slope supply curve. It's all about for today. Do this exercise on your exercise book. That's all for today. Until we meet in the next lesson video. Goodbye.